the Mulesoft classes, right? So I just wanted to give a little introduction about myself, and I wanted to know about you guys' backgrounds as well, so that it would be very easier for me to where we need to just get prolonged, or in which topic we need to get started, so that whether do you have any software background or do you have any Java or Mule background. So this helps me a lot better to make the classes easier. So first of all, to let me know, my name is Chandrika, and I was training in Mulesoft. I was giving training from past 4 years, and so I have knowledge on technologies like OSB, Mulesoft, and mainframe as well. So I just wanted to know about you guys. So Saitaja, why don't you give just a brief 1 minute or introduction about yourself? So in which background, from which background you are?
Hi, I've done my mechanical engineering. So after that, I mean, I have great experience in SQL
Mm-hmm.
So I've done my master's in Studio. So after that, when I've been to India back, so I've done, I mean, like 2-3 months experience in SQL. That's it. Apart from that, I don't have any kind of software experience.
Okay, good to hear. Thank you. And Sounder Rajan, so you continue. Hello. Are you there, Sounder? Are you there, Rajan? Okay, fine. So let me just go with the session. Okay, so to just get started, right, let me just share my screen. Okay, it was already in share mode. Okay, so to give quickly a Mulesoft introduction, right? So we cannot jump in tell like, okay, this is Mulesoft and these are the things which will be going on. So before that, we just need to know few keywords and terminologies, because once we wanted to learn English, right, we'll be learning first of all alphabets, then we'll go to words, and then we'll be going with the sentences, right? So that is the order which you need to know. Because first of all, if you don't know what is a front end, what is a back end, then you cannot know what is a middleware. Then in the middleware, why Mule? Okay, and also in all the so many middleware technologies are there. Inside all those, why Mule being very much popular? So we need to know this thing. Means first of all, need to know front end, back end, and the middleware thing. Okay, so so first of all, 1 second, just a second. Okay, am I audible? No. Okay, so first of all, we wanted to know what is a front end and what is a back end. Okay, so whenever we try to search something on Google, okay, we try to search or something, give it on Chrome browser or something we wanted to search. Okay, let me search something like ABC in the Chrome browser. Then what I'll be getting the search results respective to that particular ABC. That results will be getting shown on the our laptop or our mobile screen, right? So that means that in our whatever we are seeing, right, whatever we are able to see, that is nothing but you are the front end. For seeing that means it is going to get something from your backend database, right? So from something from your backend, it can be your database, it can be your file, it can be a mainframe, anything it can be. So it will be getting your information from your backend, and it might be in any kind of format. It can be in a format of data formats, will be different types. It can be XML, it can be JSON, or it can be your Java, it can be your text, whatever it format can be. It will be taking that particular format and showing you on your screen, right? But if it is showing on your screen, if it is showing you in the format of XML, can you understand? When you're trying to search ABC in the format of text, you wanted to see the result in that particular format only. So that means you need a middleware to transform the data, right? Because whatever if it were some other language, see, if you wanted if you know something like Telugu and the other person knows only Hindi, you don't know these both the languages common. So you need a third person who knows both Telugu and Hindi to translate from Telugu to Hindi and Hindi to Telugu, right? In the same way, the middleware also will do a prominent role in transforming a data from front end to back end or back end to front end. Okay, 1 second. Soundaraj, I have reconnected, but I'm able to hear voice from phone. Hearable alone. Do you have any issues with my voice, Saiteja? Are you able to hear?
Yeah, you're very clear.
Okay, so Soundararajan, if you are able to hear me, it's fine. Just go ahead with the session, and once we after this session, we can just speak over phone, because
Okay.
you don't. Okay, yeah, okay, fine, very good. Now I'm able to hear.
You are able to hear me, right?
Yes, now I'm able to hear perfectly. Yeah, so this is nothing but your front end and your back end, and what is this middleware will be doing it. Not only this, only not a Google search browsing or any kind of a Uber. You're trying to, Uber is nowadays maintaining all these things in APIs format. Okay, we'll come back to the what is APIs, what are all these things. But these kind of things, like you search something on your Facebook, you go to weather. So whatever you're able to see on screen, okay, that part of coding, whatever we are trying to show it on front end, right? Like your Java or PHP script. So these all kind of things will be your front end, and backends will be your mainframe or your database and all this kind of things. Okay, and middleware, coming back to the middleware, while it is used to transform the data and send it from one format to other format or one application to other application. So these middleware, you do have multiple middleware things like your TIPCO, your OSB, nothing but your Oracle Service Bus, or your Mulesoft. So these are multiple middleware technologies we do have it. Okay, these only have, this is nothing but your application. This cannot be seen on your front end, or this is nothing but not any kind of database where data is stored. This is the place where only the logic exists. Okay, your middleware should not be exposed to public, because whatever the company's logic will be present, that exact logic will be present over here. Okay, so before we go further, okay, you would want to know what is the difference between your front end, back end, and middleware. We learn now much more concentrate on our middleware. So before we just go to know what is the Mulesoft definition, we need to know few keywords or key terminologies. What is an API? What is a web service? And what is exactly a middleware integration does? What is the Mule Esb in this middleware integration does, and why only Mule is trending currently, and then Mule approach, how we are going to do, and the complete life cycle of Mule. Okay, so now going to the first thing, right? So before we just go to the Mule, I already said that we need to know few key terms. Okay, what is an API? So now we are saying that, okay, when I'm sending some instant message, okay, when I'm trying to click an instant message, it is going to some server, and then from that particular server, it will be go to your receiver, right? So when it is doing this particular process, so it is allowing your transmitter to receiver to talk to each other using some server here in this case. Okay, or if you wanted to check weather on your phone. Okay, so you search like what is the today's temperature, something on your Google. So what it does, it will just go to that particular database, or it will go to that particular live results history where it is maintained, and it gets the information from there, and it is showing today it is something like 25 degrees Celsius or at 28. So in this kind of things it will be showing you. So what it is doing? So now how this program is running from front end to back end and back end to front end, right? So this particular process or this particular programming interface, whatever it was doing, right? So it is nothing but your API. Okay, so API, which stands for your application programming interface, which is nothing but it allows the two applications. From now onwards, I don't want it to say front end to back end and back end to front end. I'll simply mention that it will be a two applications. Okay, so two applications to talk to each other. Application programming interface, nothing but your API is a software or it is a programming thing which we'll be doing it. So whenever you search something on your Facebook, you send an instant message, you check whether on your phone or whatever it can be. Whatever nowadays you're doing daily activities with your phone, indirectly you're using your APIs. Okay, so then what is a web service? So web service also which allow you to exchange your data or to transmit the data from one system to other system or one application to other application. But an API is nothing but your programming interface. Here it is nothing but your open protocols and standards. So what is nothing but a protocol? Protocol is nothing but a rule and regulatory that you need to follow this particular structure. But in your API, you don't have any kind of structure to follow. Okay, so basically mainly a web service. Anyone is telling something?
I mean, sorry, I said okay. Sorry.
Okay, yeah, fine, thank you. So now we saw that API is also a two different systems applications which talk to each other, and a web services also which allows the two different applications to talk to each other. But API is nothing but you're just it will allow you to talk to each other, but you don't have any kind of rules and regulations. But here you do have in a protocol and standard to follow one format to other. Okay, one example I can give you. So here API, if I have some account information, okay, so I wanted in this particular, I don't want any particular format when I'm using API. So I can give the name, okay, and I can give his email ID and date of birth. In these three details are important for me. I don't want any kind of, I don't have any kind of preference in which order they need to come. So if I name, date of birth, email also fine, name, email, date of birth also fine, email, date of birth and name also fine. This is how API works. But whereas your web service, the standard structure in a name should come first, date of birth should come next, email should come third. So if this particular order is not working, if you are writing code in such a way that after name you write a web service, the web service is going to fail. So this is the one example I gave you. We don't need to concentrate much on web service because we are going to deal with APIs. So I'm just trying to replicate the advantages of API over web services. Okay, the one more big advantage I can say you here is web service is only going to support HTTP protocol. Okay, so before I just go to tell this advantage, whenever we are trying to search something in Chrome browser, the address, the URL, okay, let me say it's first Gmail itself. So the Gmail, how it will look like, https://www.gmail.com, right? So that means that we do have a transfer protocol, HTTP, okay, hypertext transfer protocol. So that means that it is trying to, okay, when the URL starts with HTTP, it is trying to search with, okay, this is, I need to transfer this particular data, the next coming www.gmail.com. So it needs to go to that particular URL. So I'm trying to tell that one. But if it is starting with HTTPS, that means it is a secured, okay, HTTPS, secured hypertext transfer protocol. That means that it needs to be secured. I know I should not allow every user to come in. I need to give a username and password to enter. Okay, so that is the difference between a HTTP and HTTPS. So whenever you see a secured one is more advantageous and more better than your normal thing, right? Because I don't want every API to work, every user to work on my API. I want only particular listeners to call my API, right? So that means that I need to give more priority to HTTPS protocols. So you can see here, web service is not going to support HTTPS. Web service is only going to support HTTP protocol, whereas API is going to support both HTTP as well as HTTPS. Both protocols API will be supporting. Okay, so now you can see that web service and disadvantages more, API is advantageous more than your web service. With this, I can info one more point saying that all web services are your APIs, because all web services, whatever you're trying to do HTTP protocols, I am able to do it in APIs. Then why I'll go to web services? The action, whatever I'm performing in here, I can do here as well, right? So, but all APIs cannot be your web services. So now I have discussed what is API, what is a web service, and what is the advantages of API over web services. Okay, then we are going to come over Mule Esb definition. So what is Mule? So I already mentioned you before that what is a front-end, back-end, middleware, right? So in this middleware, Mule is playing a very prominent role in getting the things transformed. Okay, so generally before I go to that, okay, what generally a normal bus do? BUS. Okay, so what it will do? It will collect the people, or it will make the people board into the bus from one place, and it will carry that people to till that particular location, and then it will drop them there, right? So the bus generally definition is nothing but it's just a channel to travel, make people travel from one place to other place. The same way, bus here in your software terminology refers to your middleware. So here, your enterprise service bus, okay, we are dealing with services, two different services or two different applications. So ESB nothing but refers to your enterprise service bus. So which is what it is going to do here, here people in the sense data. So now it is trying to exchange the data from two different systems. I'm saying exchange, so it can be from one to other to one. Okay, so this is, then what it is based on? It is based on your Java. Okay, so you are asking me like, okay, you don't know Java. No need of any kind of issues, because the Java based, see, if I wanted to write so much in Java, I wanted to write so much, like if you wanted to connect to database and get the information, I need to write about JDBC driver, I need to write you the whatever the connection details, I need to install that particular thing, and then I need to write a query, select a query, and then I need to get the data and I need to transform. These are 7 or 8 steps which were involved in your when you write the code in Java. But when it comes to Mule, you do have predefined connectors. As it is a middleware, you don't have much logic to write over here. You just need to drag and drop that particular connector. And then what you need to do, you just need to give that just whatever the minimum configuration details. Okay, there will be a connector for definitely for database and for even for select query. So you just need to drag and drop, and then you need to give that whatever the table name you wanted to connect and what is the schema you need to connect, username and password. There in that particular drop downs, you need to select and you can give the connect. Then you don't need to write any kind of lines of code to write the connection. Okay, to get the transformation data as well. You no need to do any transformation data, because if you select from your drop down that it is XML or JSON, whatever the language you need it, you just need to. So this way, but you are just trying to drag and drop that particular connector. But what happens in the backend is the Mulesoft tool itself will generate a backend code. So it will run automatically and it will build automatically. Whatever you are doing is you just drag and drop a connector, and then you are giving a minimum basic required configuration detail. But in the backend, what it is happening, it is writing the code as an XML, and then the XML code is nothing but your final output. Okay, then when you run it, it is going to get connected to the database and it is getting the information, and then the information is getting transformed. Okay, so this is nothing but, so you are just whatever you are doing from your end is dragging and dropping, but the backend code, nothing but your Java again. So, and also your tool, the Anypoint Studio tool, okay, where you will be writing your Mule development, where you'll be doing your Mule entire development of your API. Okay, so that is nothing but your Java based tool. It looks more or more similar to your Eclipse tool, but no need of worrying at all. No, the coding of 80% will be getting reduced than Java from to here. So it is very developer friendly, and also you do have so many connectors. If you don't have the connectors in your Anypoint Studio, we can download from the Anypoint platform. So no need of issue. So then what exactly the Mule definition? Now you can see, now I'm trying to read that particular 3 lines, then you understand. So it is now, okay, Mule is, what we'll do with Mule is, we'll develop the APIs. So what I mentioned is API, right? So the Mule software will develop your APIs, and it will allow your systems to applications to talk to each other. So Mule is nothing but your lightweight Java-based ESB and your integration platform. Why I'm mentioning integration platform is the data between the front end and back end you're trying to integrate, okay, which allows the developers to connect the applications together quickly and easily, which enables them to exchange the data from two different systems. Okay. So I just wanted to stop at this point of moment, and I wanted to get to know any kind of questions. Do you have any queries? Do you have? I'll just make a pause over here. Till now, are you clear? Any doubts?
No, it's fine up until now.
Yeah, fine.
Okay. So now we got to know what is a Mule exactly. Okay. So before I just go to more detail about Mule lifecycle, I want to know a point. Why Mule only the best middleware? Because before Mule, we do have TIPCO, we do have OSB, where we used to connect through proxy and business. Okay, that is entirely different chapter. But why only Mule is trending? Because before we come to Mule, why Mule is trending, we wanted to know which approach Mule is following. If we wanted to know okay, we wanted to compare the two things, right? I wanted to compare A and B. I need to know definitely about A as well as B. Then only I can compare about A and B, right? So in the same way, I wanted to understand why Mule is trending currently this much. I want to know what approach Mule is following and what approach previously, before Mule evolved, what approach the normal software companies are being followed, right? If we get to know, then only I can compare these two things, right? So now I wanted to come, before I compare, I wanted to understand the previous architecture first. So the previous architecture is nothing but your P2P approach. P2P is nothing but your point-to-point approach. Okay, the name itself indicates the how connections will be there. So now if you can see on my screen, so down systems are nothing but your backend. These top systems, I can say these are your front end. Okay, so if I'm saying here, a organization will have multiple front end systems and multiple backend systems. Okay, so the backend systems like the databases where their information, sensitive information can be stored, their account information or their client information, their billing information can be stored, or they might have something like SAP, Oracle, these kind of places where they might be requiring the customer data. They will be stored, might have tie-ups with these particular things, and they might store their particular data, or they might have their own customized apps for that particular storing of data, right? And they might have their front-end systems like their social media front-end, where they'll be posting the blogs, and they wanted to be in sync with all their regular updates and their devices, whatever the databases information, where they will be wanted to showcase on their particular other systems like your laptop or desktop or your mobile or your car maps. Right, on their cloud platforms, on their customer, or they wanted to give some information to their customers or partners. So these are nothing but your entire front end who will be requiring the information, whatever is being stored. Okay, so now you can see here clearly, if I take this particular database, Okay, this particular database is connected to this particular map. This is connected to this particular car, and this is to social. This is particular SAS. That nothing but this is again connected to this customized tab, because I might need this particular information. I might be storing it. Async might need to happen every day. That means that it needs to connect to this as well. It needs to connect to this as well. That means if I do have a point, okay, treat this as a point. If I have in multiple things, I need to have a point-to-point connection. That means if I, okay, I can say in other words, if I'm trying to introduce one more new database, I need to meet each and every connection over these, whatever, how many kind of applications I do have, I need to make those many connections over here. Okay, and if I wanted to remove this particular database, okay, so some will say that this particular virus has been attacked and this particular connection I need to remove from the organization, because this is a point to point. So if this particular connection is going to get affected, as this is connected to this particular customized app, as this is again connected to this particular, the entire system is going to get collapsed. So that means a very high risk factor. And also I'm trying to add one new database. What happens here? A new database is added. Then I am trying to make some 10 or 12 connections over here. 10 or 12 point-to-point connections I'll be making. Then I need to test all the 12 before I move to production, before I give it to the client. Because I cannot, without testing, I cannot give. I cannot say that, okay, this one particular connection I tested, the remaining 11 will work fine. I need to test each and every connection before I showcase it to the market production. So that means that the time to market is also pretty much high. Then I wanted to change anything. It is hard also to change. I already mentioned you how it will be hard to change as well. The maintenance cost, because these many connections you are making, for every connection, for every API connection, okay, so you need to have some particular amount, and the maintenance cost will also be very much more. So this is nothing but your traditional approach, how your APIs used to be get connected before your Mule arrived. Okay, this is nothing but your point-to-point approach, where you do have disadvantages like you're hard to change, your maintenance is high, high risk, time to market is also very much pretty much high. So now when we come to your Mule, so Mule follows the API-led connectivity approach. So what is here the API-led connectivity approach? Okay, so now you can see on the screen the down things, okay, all these are your backend systems. So whatever I have shown you here, right, so these are nothing but your backend systems. It can be your Salesforce applications, it can be your mainframe, it can be your files, databases, whatnot. So all these backend systems, right, these are nothing but your front-end systems like your mobile, your desktop, your maps, and all these things. Okay, user in buildings, sensors. So these are all your front-end systems. Right. So now what happens here in your backend systems, I don't want to connect every backend system to every front-end system in a point-to-point approach. When I will be developing an APIs, I will divide the APIs into 3 layers: system APIs, process APIs, and the experience APIs. So what happens here? System APIs is nothing but your, the name itself indicates, that means it is connected to your system. So here the system is referring nothing but your backend systems, nothing but most prominently it will be your databases. So here for all this, how many are there? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So for these 7, I will create a system API replicated. Okay, so it doesn't have any kind of logic, simply an API which I'll connect to SaaS apps. I'll have an API which will connect to mainframe. So in this way, I'll create 7 system APIs over here in this particular layer. Okay, so as this particular databases or these particular files will contain organization data, right? Sensitive information, an account, how many accounts I do have and the organization have, how much billing they are trying to get it, how much profits they are getting every year. So these particular sensitive information of the organization will be present. So that was the reason these system APIs should not be exposed to their public use. Okay, so the top layer of these system APIs will be a process APIs. So what is the name is indicating? Process. nothing but it is the process or the logic which APIs are going to get followed. Okay, so if I have something like from this database, I might get the information of all the account. Okay, all the accounts info, because I'm just connecting to system API, but I don't have any kind of logic here. So I do have one system API which has having this database information. Now this process API is not going to take input from your database. We are not going to disturb any more this particular connection. We will be connecting to this particular system APIs. We are not, once we connected, that is enough. Now this database, whatever this database system API will have this all the information of this particular database. So now process API will be connected to this particular system API information and get back this particular information. And then I don't want all the account. I want to show only the particular user, his information only. Then definitely I need to filter out the data, right? So the filtering logic that the particular, along with the username, his email ID, this particular filtering logic I'll give with some filters, and that logic will be present in this particular process API. Okay, now this, after this process is getting completed, this process API should not be exposed to public use. We should not share this URL with anyone, because the process APIs is nothing but your logic which organization will be following. We should not share that logic as well to anyone. We should only show the end output, whatever the user is needed, right? So you can see here the third part is nothing but the topmost layer, experience APIs. So which users will be experiencing? User experience APIs. These are nothing but your called. So these are nothing but your purposefully built APIs. So you can see here now I do have one data which I have filtered. Then what else I need? Why I need experience API? Why? Because this laptop user might need the information in the format, because you wanted to see something. You can know on your phone, it can be a desktop mode or it can be normal on your mobile mode, right? That means the way it was showing the information, the transformation, it can be different. You can see the example as here it might need it in format of XML, and this mobile user might need the format of Java. Okay, but the same information, no change at all. But then whatever the format of the data, it might be different. So XML he will need and Java he needs. So I'll build it experience API XML. This one I'll share it, and Java API I'll again develop. I'll just mention it as a Java and I'll share it to this one. So what happens by experience APIs, this particular user can only invoke this particular URL. This particular URL doesn't have the system APIs information, doesn't have any kind of username, password of this logic, and doesn't have any what is the logic the company is following. So the experience APIs were used for secured purpose and also for transforming the data from one format to other format. So in this way, we will be connecting the front-end applications and back-end applications. Okay, so this is nothing but we are trying to connect through APIs. So APIs are the main leading role they do have. So that was the reason this approach is not known as API-led connectivity approach. Okay. So what we saw the disadvantages over here, P2P approach, we mentioned that it is a hard to change, maintenance high risk, time to market. So we'll see how these disadvantages are overcome over this approach. So now if you can see over here, I wanted to add one more database. Okay, I am adding one database, and here I am trying to build one system API, but the logic is same, the experience users, front-end people will be same. So if I'm just adding, and I will trust only the connection between this system API to this database, newly added database. The remaining connections are already done and already perfectly tested and marketed also done. Then that means if I test only this particular connection, that is very much sufficient. But whereas you need add one database over here, you will be testing all the 12 or 15 connections. But here, if you're trying to test only one connection, that is pretty much good. Then the time to market is reduced 10 to 25 times. Okay. If you see here, then I wanted to remove this particular database because this particular connection is going affected. As this system API, as this database is got affected. But here I am trying to remove only this particular connection because this database is not directly connected to any topmost layer. If we are trying to remove this particular connection, that would be sufficient. So any bug has increased also, the risk factor is also very much less over here. Okay, as time reduced, the risk reduced, and the maintenance also, because we are trying to connect only one time. The other things are only developer perspective. So when you're trying to connect only once, the maintenance cost is also very much less, because when I'm trying to do this from database to this social thing, I'll be connecting how many times data is needed. I'll connect to these many times. This database is invoked so many times. Normally, when you try to invoke some databases or get the information from your particular thing, you might be charged some dollars or some pennies at US or these particular companies, because they are not, if they are inside your organization, that's perfectly fine. But they're outside of your organization, you're trying to invoke the data and get the data information, definitely you'll be charging something. But here, as you are only invoking for one time and you're getting the information already stored in your system API, then definitely the maintenance is also getting reduced. So these are the whatever the disadvantages we saw in the P2P approach, how they have become advantages in the API-led connectivity approach. So here again, I'm going to give a pause. Any doubts still here? So I went explain what is P2P approach, API-led connectivity approach. Any point of question, I am ready to answer.
No, it's fine. It's fine.
Hello?
Yeah, go on.
I have a doubt in the process APIs. So you meant to say that process is also, not for a public use, right? Like
Yes.
supposed not to share or something,
Yes,
because
exactly.
the logic code.
Yeah.
So that means the microservices, everything that happens inside, which cannot be exposed outside actually. Like my question is microservices. When I saw that microservices, I thought initially we can expose that. So okay, got it.
But basically, whatever we are trying to give experience APIs only, we'll be exposing which contains the logic, which contains the data. But we are not showing it to public. We are only showing the data. Yeah.
Right. Okay. Got it. Thank you.
Okay, fine. So now we saw API-led connectivity approach, right? So that means now you saw what is Mule and Mule advantages by building APIs and what exactly Mule will be doing to connect two applications, right? Here now you saw in more detail how it is connecting the front end to back end in a layer perspective. Okay, now what are the steps to develop APIs? Now we are saying that okay, now we'll develop system APIs, we'll develop process APIs, we'll develop experience APIs. But to develop an API, it can be a system API, it can be a process API, or it can be an experience API. To develop all these things, right? So what are the different steps we need to perform? Okay, so to perform all these steps, right? So this is your life cycle, which Mule does follows. Okay, so now what are the steps to follow? Any kind of API, it can be a system API, it can be a process API, or it can be your experience API. The Mule follows all these steps. So it will come from your inner circle. Okay, inner circle, it will to start from this particular design phase. So whenever I'm mentioning, okay, let me say in this perspective. So this is your design cycle, and this is your implementation cycle, or this is your management cycle. Okay, so here, what is this design cycle and what is this implementation? We will be speaking. So design cycle is nothing but over here. Inside this, first and foremostly, I'll be designing my API. Okay, so now what is meant by design? Why don't you start with directly development? So here, design is nothing but your you are trying to design an API is nothing but you need to do the request parameters, your response parameters. Okay, I'll give you an example. Now I wanted to I'm getting some disturbance actually. Can you please mute yourself? Yeah, thank you so much. So here, what happens here is the design phase. Okay, so the design phase is nothing but your RAML. RAML is nothing but your RESTful API modeling language. Okay, so what does RAML will be doing? So RAML will be doing is, okay, before that, let me give an example. So when I'm trying to do an Amazon thing, right? So an Amazon, when I try to give an Amazon order, okay, so what it will ask me to track an order, it will ask me a tracking ID as the input. And what it will give the details, the where location, it will be giving the, it will be present, where the location it has reached, and what is the estimated date, right? So that means that we are trying to give some request parameter and we are getting response parameters, right, in that way. And then if I'm trying to give any kind of other shipment details, then I'll give those also in my request parameters, right? So when I know that as a third party, as I'm knowing that, okay, for account ID, it is asking me this particular detail request parameters, and these are the response parameters I am giving here. So when I wanted to develop also, I need to know what are the request parameters the guy is expecting, I will be expecting, and they will be giving me, and what are the response parameters I need to give. I need to know definitely as a developer. So that means that first you need to design your RAML, the request parameters and your response parameters. And not only these parameters, you need to know what operation you need to do, right? Okay, I will be telling like I need to connect an application A to a database. I'll simply give this information. I need to collect an application from an application A to a database. Okay, what are all the operations which I can perform on database? Whether I need to send the data from A to B, let me say B as a database. So whether I need to send information from A to B, or whether I need to get the information from B. Okay, so that means whether you wanted to perform a select query, or whether you need to insert the data into operation, or whether you need to delete the record. Because, okay, let me say an example, like if a student has completed his schooling, he will be leaving from school, then what you need to do? You need to record from this existing database, right? In that particular scenario, you wanted to connect to that particular database and delete that particular record. Okay, so then in this scenario, what you will be doing? You need to do a delete operation. So that means that you need to know the operation priorly, because I already said you will have multiple connectors in database also. For select, you have one connector. For insert, you have one connector. Not only in databases, for all the operations, for file, for reading a file, you have one connector. For writing a file, so multiple connectors you do have. But before you do that, you need to know what exactly the connector you need to know. You need to know the operation priorly in design perspective, right? So you need to know all this, whatever you need to know all these things. We'll know all this designing more detail in the next coming classes. So here, as of now, you know to understand that you understand that the design was also very much important, because you need to know what request parameters, response parameters, what operation you need to do, what connectivity you need to do. If I just give A and B applications, I don't know what A needs to do, what B needs to do. So definitely I need to know about two applications. So that is nothing but your design phase. So once you design phase, then what you need to do? Then you need to simulate the data, nothing but you're mocking the data, and you need to see, test it. Okay, the testing also you can do in the design. Even you write the RAML. Okay, I'm telling that, okay, you need to write RAML, you need to write RAML. Nothing but there is no much coding over there. It will simply, all the suggestions will be giving. You need to select those particular suggestions. Then simulating is mock the URL. As we did not develop, we don't have a proper URL to test. There will be an option to mock the URL and test whether for this request parameters, whether I'm getting this particular response parameters or not. Because if this is good only, then you can go with this particular API specification to build phase. Because I'm trying, then I'll just import this particular design to API specification. That means this should be 100% correct. Then here after simulating, okay, now I got that, okay, when I'm trying to give request parameters, it is working as per the expected design. Then I need to get the feedback. So who will be giving your feedback? Generally, we do have an AnyPoint platform where we will be getting a feedback from the particular architects, or we do have a cloud platform. Okay, so this phase is not a mandatory phase. They generally, you expose your RAML to public use. So what happens? They have any issues, or already a defined RAML is present. then you can reuse them, or this is not a mandatory phase. Then after all this validation, view API spec, API specification short form. API spec is ready now. So with this API spec, this is done in Anypoint Studio tool, which looks like Eclipse. Okay, so this API spec, you will import this into your Anypoint Studio. Then what happens when you import this particular API spec, then that particular format only you are trying to follow from here onwards. Then you will connect to database and then do whatever you wanted to do over here. And then how in Java JUnits will be there, nothing but for unit testing. You will be doing a testing using your MUnits, nothing but Mule unit testing. For each flow, how it behaves, how it is going to get the information, you will be doing a testing. That means now the service is ready. That is API is ready. Okay, so an API is ready over here. So now you can say here, okay, already my API is ready. Then why does this phase is needed? So whatever you have done your API, it is there in your local machine, right? So you need, and also whatever we thought a web services and API difference, the main difference is nothing but you can make it a secured over here. When it is a main advantage and when we are trying to go API for only this purpose, then definitely we need to secure it, right? So here we will be securing the APIs. So we will be using any kind of basic authentication like only username and password, or we will be generating a token, or whatever this can be, or whatever the client is expecting to secure approach, that particular secure approach we will be following. Okay, that particular secure approach we will be following, and then we'll make our API secure so that only whoever I'll share the username and password details, only those can access my API. And then now after securing, I do have only my local. So if someone wants to test it, I need to give my laptop to them and to test it, right? It's not correct. I need to deploy it to some environment, and then that particular environment they will access. Okay, so deploying to how I'll be deploying, we'll discuss. And after deploying, okay, now deployment is done. So if someone will come and tell some issue, see my duty is done, it's not the correct way, right? So you need to monitor and manage as well. You need to check how many people are accessing your APIs, how many requests are coming, how many responses are coming. See, whatever I am telling, this might look a process was, oh my god, this for every API this much step I need to do, but it is very much easy. Only monitoring and the troubleshooting. For that you need to know the debugging process. Apart from that, the remaining all part will be very much easy. And monitoring, and now you can see if any issue will come, you will be troubleshooting the issue, and then then you will be managing your API. So what is the managing your API? Okay, this is also not a mandatory step. So manage is nothing but some people might have some requirement that a management is also important. Okay, so give an example. So I wanted my API only to run 3 times per day. Okay, so if I wanted to connect, if I have given one policy, already there will be predefined policies in Mule to manage. So if I'm giving some rate limiting policy, daily 3 times per day. Okay, so when I'm trying to connect from A to B for the first time, B will give data. From A to B second time, it will give data. B to A to B third time, it will give data. Fourth time, fifth time, how many times I'll give? It will give data if I don't apply any policy. If I apply rate limiting policy 3 times per day, first 3 times it will give, but fourth time it will throw an error saying that the rate limiting has been exceeded. Please try after some time. Then you need to try only the next day. So that in this way, the database data can be given only for a shorter period of time. Okay, so this way they will be doing a management of API. So the inner circle where we'll be designing our YAML and API spec will be ready, and then we'll be developing API and testing the API. Then API is ready. After this API, I'll be securing my API and deploying, and whether we'll be searching any kind of issues, and we'll be applying a policies by managing this. That means a perfect and complete API will be ready. So this is the whole Mule API life cycle, which Mule does follow. In this, there were mandatory steps, there were optional steps, where it will be based on your organization or your company perspective. But the design phase, building and testing phase, these inner phase will be a mandatory step. Only the feedback step is an optional phase. Here, secure phase is also optional phase, because HTTP, if your URL is needed, then you don't need of securing, right? HTTPS only you need securing. So deploying phase is mandatory, monitor troubleshooting is mandatory, managing is not a mandatory, it's an optional phase again. So this is a Mule API lifecycle overall. Do you have any doubts in this lifecycle?
No, I'm good with this.
Yeah.
Okay, guys. So with this, I just wanted to wrap up over here. So this is what is a Mule, what exactly we do in Mule, how the API connectivity approach, and how we for developing an API. These are the different kind of steps involved. So I just wanted to wind up the session over here. If you have any kind of doubts between first to last slide or any kind of things, you can just contact this. You can just ask me. Otherwise, we'll stop over here. Okay, so basically the Mule entirely now we will have, as I've already mentioned you, this is the life cycle. So first and foremostly, the next classes will start from this particular phase. So how we'll be doing a RAML and designing. So this particular phase will take 2 to 3 classes, this entire inner circle. Then this building cycle. So this particular part will take some 10 to 12 classes. What are the different type of connectors we will be using? What are the different kind of approaches we will be following to build the particular APIs, and then the testing units will take 1 to 2 classes, 1 and after 2 classes. Then after this particular thing, the secure and deploy. So these are going to take again some bit of classes. So entirely this is a 30-day cycle actually. So where we'll be completing all these things, and coming to so again in each cycle or in each particular phase. So what are the different kind of questions, or what are the different kind of things can be asked as an interview perspective? So these are all the things can be covered, and we do have an error handling also for that particular thing. We'll be sharing that particular material, and the recordings will be shared every day, day to day basis by Subbu. Any doubts here? You wanted to share something or ask something?
So this introduction session recording will be sent to the mail, or?
Sorry, I didn't get you.
Hello?
Yeah. Now it is audible. Yeah, go on.
No, just a doubt. So whatever you have explained about the Mulesoft introduction, API, all the web service and all, right? So this session is available, or?
Yeah, it was being recorded, so it will be available to you.
Okay, fine. Yeah.
Okay, guys, if you don't have anything, we are winding up. Thank you so much.
Yeah,
thank you.